Hey guys, and welcome to a Patreon exclusive video for Final Down NFL with myself, Jim, and Denver Dave. No Punk Raider at the moment. He was supposed to be here but flaked at the last minute. He may join us another time. Yeah, he was supposed to be here. He knew the time.
Yeah, he's got a big court case tomorrow. Leave him alone.
Fair enough. And also, we're talking about QB, so it doesn't concern him at all. The focus of today is about the never-ending QB carousel. There's a lot of teams that need QBs, a lot of QBs that are making overtures to maybe leaving their teams. So we thought we'd have a look through the QB needy teams and what we think they should do versus what they will do, just to see if we can reach any sort of consensus, as Dave and I normally manage. Dave, not going to be too easy because the first team we're going to talk about is, of course, your team, Dave, the Denver Broncos. Maybe I should hand over to you really to say kind of what the status is. How desperate are you for a QB this off season?
I think we're not in a unique position in the NFL. There's quite a few teams that fit into this category of having a team that's ready to go, to coin a Boris Johnson term, oven ready, ready to go, and just needing a QB. Mm-hmm. I think the problem the Broncos have. So we have a 9th overall pick. We have good draft capital, multiple second round picks. Thanks.
You've got 11 picks. This draft.
We've got, but it's not only is it 11 picks, it's 11 good picks, because you can have 11 picks and them all be rubbish. I mean, we saw that a couple of years ago with, I think it was Seattle about 3 years ago, had one of the second most picks, but they were all 4th, 6th, and 7th round. It didn't mean nothing. So we've got capital to be able to trade. And we've got a roster that's full of good young players, and all of the holes that we need can be plugged. Mm-hmm. The problem I think that we've got, and what makes us not an attractive proposition, is we are the team in most turmoil. Or sorry, that's the wrong word. We're the team that's going to go through the most change in between seasons. So we've had a complete roster change in terms of, a complete coaching roster change. So the average age has gone down from 109 with all of the old guys who was there to like 38 now. Mm-hmm. We're going to have a complete change of playbooks. We're going to have a change of quarterback. We are going through the process of having a change of owner because all the court cases are done now. It looks as though we're going through the sales of ownership. Mm-hmm. We're now in the second year of GM of having George Payton, and Payton now is influencing his philosophy in full. It's a complete change. Everything we are doing as an organization is different to last year. And QBs, I don't think necessarily like turmoil and change. So I think from that point of view, it doesn't necessarily make us an attractive proposition. And it also, you're with the Steelers. Things don't change from the Steelers season after season. It's stable and it's consistent. Mm-hmm. And that's why the success, typically massive amounts of change doesn't lead to success. Article 1 of that is the Browns. There's consistent change and there's no success. So that's a concern. However, I believe we have to bring in a quarterback. So on that basis, I don't think we'll get Rodgers. I don't think we'll get Wilson. I don't think we'll get any of the other boys who are out there. I think if we trade for someone, it will be Kirk Cousins.
Okay.
If we go in free agency, I think it will probably be Andy Dalton, if I'm honest.
Wow, what a climb down. Denver fans. I don't think Denver fans are ready to hear that, Dave. That's our first take, is it? Kirk Cousins or Andy Dalton?
I think Kirk Cousins is the most likely. And there's a couple of trades that have apparently already been talked about. So you can't go and tap up a player, but apparently there's certain conversations that have already been had last season. So Anthony Barr to the Broncos looks as though it's pretty well formed, which will give us the outside linebacker help that we need opposite Bradley Chubb. So some parts look as though they're going to be there, and I don't see us being able to go for anyone else. If we do make a splash, brilliant. What would I like is to do Kyler Murray. That's what I'd like.
Okay.
Because he severed all of his ties on social media, which basically creates a conversation. So teams inquire about players based on that. As we've been speaking in the last 24 hours, Russell Wilson's done exactly the same. Removed all of the Seahawks from his social media. Who would I want out of all of those? It would still be Kyler Murray, I think. I think Russell Wilson's a better player, but he's in his mid-30s. You can have Kyler 15 years if he comes in.
33, I think, is Russell Wilson.
Whereas Kyler's 15.
Inches.
You know?
I can't believe you're saying that about Rodgers and Wilson, because I believe you're in the prime position. So you've got like 31 million in expected cap space.
Yes.
You've got 11 draft picks to play with, so 2 second rounders, 2 third rounders in that mix. Yep. You've got a fairly decent O-line now. You know, you've done some work to shore it up.
We need new right tackle, but the problem is the offense. You can sort that out. The offense has been set as an inside zone sort of power play. So anyone who doesn't know what that means, it's kind of playing short and keeping your men inside the hash marks. Whereas the offense we're expecting to play now is going to be outside zone, almost air raid. So you're basically playing more dynamic ball. That's what Hackett tends to run. And the problem with that is our offensive line is not conducive to that kind of play. You can't have Netane Muti playing in outside zones. Like he doesn't have the body type to be able to move that way, and we don't have a right tackle at all. So
these things are fixable. I don't say that Rodgers or Wilson particularly play in an air raid system, do they? They play in a pro style system. They just work off.
Well, no, I mean that's what I'm saying. It's almost an air raid system. It's an outside zone sort of high and fly system.
But you've got the running back core that a good tandem there that you can work off. So any QB that's coming in knows that there's a stable base there to. Javonte Williams is a great talent, right?
Yes, but who's his backup? Mike Boone.
Yeah, Mike Boone. You love Mike Boone.
I like Mike Boone for what he did last year. He had a couple of steady plays, but you know there are only two running backs.
Minnesota.
You know there are only 2 running backs. Gordon's not re-signed, and there's a good chance he's not going to.
But you didn't want Gordon to re-sign because he fumbles every game.
It's not just that, but he also wants about 12 million.
Well, that as well. Yeah. You can pick up a running back on a weekend, mate. It's fine.
I'm hoping and predicting we pick up a day 3 running back and he'll be half decent.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I reckon.
I'm just saying it seems like a very nice situation. I think the real drawback for you guys, not just the coaching merry-go-round, is the division you're in. If you're Aaron Rodgers and you think I'm not going to win a Super Bowl again in Green Bay, which I think he realizes, he ain't going to win one out of the AFC West because it's even harder to get out of there and make a run through the AFC.
I don't think that matters, to be honest.
Well, I'm saying what I think, Dave.
Yeah, if you're moving to the AFC, it doesn't matter what division you go into. It's as difficult at the end to get out, irrelevant of what division you're in. The fact quarterbacks are a different breed to normal human beings. They'll all back themselves. If you said to Mitch Trubisky, do you back yourself to get out of the AFC if you got the starting job at Denver? He'd say, yeah, of course. Because that's what they've done since high school. Everyone's told them you are the best. Your skills make you the best. And they will all back themselves. If you said to Drew Lock, okay, we're going to get 100% behind you now. We're going to draw up an offense that benefits all of the skills that you may or may not have, depending on who you talk to. Do you think you can get out of the division? He will say yes, without any shadow of a doubt. Whether it's true or not is a different matter. So I don't think that plays into I don't think that makes a huge difference. The fact Mahomes and Herbert. If you said now, if you had a redraft for every player in the NFL, number 1 would be Mahomes, and number 2 probably would be Herbert or Burrow, depending on what your soul is.
Josh Allen.
Number 1 and number 2, or number 1 and number 1, 2, or 3 play in the same division.
Yeah,
I think that would be an issue for everyone other than quarterbacks.
Fair enough, but I think Tom Brady certainly took into consideration when he went down to Tampa rather than to the Chargers. No, I mean when he could have gone to the Chargers, for example, and he went down to Tampa.
Yeah, because he wanted to win.
It was an easy division.
Because he wanted to win.
You
don't go to the Chargers if you want to win.
Anyway, all right. So
everyone knows that.
I think if you're serious, I would think. Thought? Well, I think you're the only team that really can land Aaron Rodgers, other than Green Bay taking him again. But I think if you were more sensible, you would go for Russell Wilson. He's younger. He's still got the same contract issues that Rodgers has. They've still got 2 years left on their contracts. That's why they may be making overtures to other teams. But Packers and Seahawks are going, well, you're under contract and there's no out until 2024. So,
do you want me to tell you why I don't think we'll go for Wilson? I love Russell Wilson. I think he's the best quarterback in the NFL, pound for pound. If you gave him a decent offensive line in the run game, he would destroy it. The reason I don't think they'll go for him is anyone who offers something for Wilson is going to have to give a quarterback going the opposite direction. Otherwise, what have the Seahawks got? They've got nothing. You have to give a quarterback going the other way. If Indianapolis went, okay, we're going to give you first, second, and third round picks for the next 3 years, that would be enough draft capital, and you'd have Wentz going in the opposite direction. So at that point, I'd say feasible. I can see them doing that. If you put Russell Wilson in that Colts team, they are
doing the Colts yet.
I know, but you see what I'm saying though. I think you have to have a quarterback going in the opposite direction, and the Broncos don't have that. Yeah, but no. Okay, you have to have a tradable, viable option as trade bait, and we just don't have
second round pick, Drew Lock. All right.
So, yeah.
I mean, Russell Wilson was a third round pick, so there's an upgrade there.
In all honesty, I think it's most likely this year that if any quarterback is traded for in Denver, I think it will probably be Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, okay. That's not really an upgrade, though, as far as you're concerned, right?
Significant upgrade. It's
well, I think it is.
It's not the best.
You've always bashed Kirk Cousins.
It's a significant upgrade. Yeah, I don't think he's brilliant. I don't think he's great, but he's an upgrade on what we've got.
Okay, that's what the Vikings are willing to
at the moment. At the moment, we're basically in Skoda territory. We're upgrading to a fast Nissan. that's where we are. So we're not upgrading to a Lamborghini or anything like that. But Kirk Cousins is fine. He doesn't win the big games. I think he's a regular season MVP at times, but also he's a bit of a bum at times as well.
He's the interesting one, I think. The one no one's really talking about because he's got 1 year left on that 66 mil guaranteed salary. He's only 33 years old. And also the Vikings have got a new GM, so they're going to be eager to kind of put their stamp on the team. New head coach. They've only got 5 picks in this draft. So the first one's at 12. So they've got a chance to take a quarterback with their first pick and kind of strike out again as a new franchise. So, yeah, I think that, getting rid of Kirk Cousins, getting some extra draft capital makes a lot of sense for the Vikings.
Yep.
I looked at some mock drafts. They're either taking a quarterback or they're taking another cornerback. Because they've drafted, 3 in the first round since 2015 and none are on the roster. So, so they do need another cornerback, but
the Broncos have never ever drafted a successful quarterback ever.
No, but there's the other thing I was going to say before we move on is that last time you went for an experienced, like future Hall of Fame quarterback, it worked out quite well for you.
Yeah, pay money.
Yeah, I mean the difference was that he was a free agent, so it didn't really cost you anything in terms of draft capital to take him, whereas this would cost you a lot, but you've got some stuff to give there, I'm surprised you're not saying that they should be more aggressive towards.
No. I think we should. I think we absolutely should be more aggressive, and I think we probably will. Last year, we offered 2 first rounds and a second round for Matt Stafford. That was on the table. That was actually offered, but the deal had already been done when Stafford met. When Stafford met the Rams lot in Cabo and made the deal before agency had actually happened, allegedly. So all of that had already done. So the deal had already been put on the table, an aggressive deal, 2 firsts and a second for Stafford. That was tabled.
Yeah.
But ultimately the Lions wanted 2 first round picks and a quarterback coming in the other direction. And I think that's the issue with the Seahawks. The Seahawks want that transferable asset coming in the other direction as well.
But Green Bay won't because they've got Jordan Love there, so they can't really bring in another quarterback. Well, they could, I suppose, but it's going to be awkward.
What I'm saying though is that the Broncos will make a trade for someone, as whether it's successful. And the thing is, as a supporter of a downtrodden team, you're always a little bit more pessimistic. By the time this gets released, we could have news of potential trades, because you can make offers now, nothing can go through. But stuff gets leaked all the time where you know there are outside agreements.
Yeah. Agents, it's in their interest if they give out those trade options, isn't it? So
yeah, and depending on which team does it, it will depend on whether there's any action from the NFL. So
yeah,
I
do wish that Packerton was still here, because if he had seen how much Aaron Rodgers learned off Brett Favre, not just on the field, but obviously off the field, then it would have made him laugh, I think.
Well, there's a Packers fan who I was talking to, Graham, and he's of the same assumption as to me. I think you either see Rodgers retire or stay at Green Bay. I don't think he moves.
But I think he might retire now. I think that whole last dance stuff, seems a bit weird to come back. But you never know. Okay, so let's talk about another team that's close to us, and that's the Pittsburgh Steelers. So they've got 25 mil in basic cap space, so pretty good. They've got a fairly decent draft order, first, second, and third. Then they've got a gap before sixth, and then 2 7ths. So it's not as if we can really offer a lot.
Because you were a playoff team, weren't you? Where were you drafted?
20th, I think it is.
Oh, that's rough. That's that middle bit where you have to really nail the first round.
Yeah, so some mocks have us moving up to like 10 to take a quarterback. This is
trade up to 9. Trade up to 9 and give us first next.
We've done it before. We've given you picks before for moving up.
That was your middle linebacker, wasn't it? Bush.
It was Devin Bush, yeah.
Bush.
Yeah,
you lot love Bush.
Do love Bush. So anyway, I think that we should not draft a quarterback because it's a terrible year. I mean, we haven't really got into draft season yet on the pod, but
very
everyone knows.
Your favorite quarterback? Who's your favorite quarterback in the draft? Just a name. Don't go too much into it.
If it was anyone, it'd be Malik Willis, but he can't go through progressions. He's got tiny hands.
He's a fumbletron as well.
I can't play in the cold weather. But anyway,
let's not go into it. I think I'd like to see you pick up Pickett because he's at Pittsburgh College. So it was that. It'd be that.
Yeah,
I'd also like to see you go for a rookie as well.
Yeah, thanks.
Let's carry on. So,
not this year. I want us to go next year. So I need to go in free agency for a QB. And as much as I would love Russell Wilson, although I can't stand his Jesus tweets every day. Yeah. We've done free agency before.
No. I'm saying we're not going to get Russell Wilson in free agency.
Well, you know what I mean. Like, we're going to trade for him in this off season. I would like to see probably Jimmy G out of all the kind of mid-range QBs. Feasible. He would make sense as a guy that, although is far from spectacular. I mean, his stats do not jump off the page. He at least knows how to win games. He can manage a team. I think that's what we need right now. So, and he would be a nice stopgap. So he wouldn't have to worry. He'd be the starting quarterback, see us for at least one season, and then maybe the second one, like he's done with Trey Lance. He would know. You could say to him, "You've got at least 2 years with an offense. It's a young offense. You've got Najee Harris, you've got Pat Fryermuth, you've got good young wide receivers there. We're going to still work on the O line. We're still going to continue to work on the O line. Yeah. We did pick up 2 in the draft, and we picked up
My concern with Jimmy G is 2 concerns. Number one, injuries. I mean, that's obvious. He has a significant amount of injuries. When was the last time he completed an entire season without getting injured? And you guys don't have the backup.
Well, last season.
No,
he played most of it. Okay, Trey Lance had to come in for a couple.
Some games at the beginning of the season. And I think the second thing that's an issue is if he goes somewhere, he wants to be the guy and told that he is the future. I think
he will be for another 2 years.
But when you're coming in saying you're our guy for 2 years, I'm not sure that's necessarily what he's going to want to hear. I think you guys, and I mentioned this to you before, I think you guys go Carson Wentz because you can possibly pick him up for a second. I think he's one of those guys, if you can just say, look, do this. Don't do anything more. Don't go nuts. Just this is all we need you to do. You're banned from throwing the ball more than 20 yards, so don't do it. And I think having a coach like Tomlin who can sit him down and convince him that he doesn't need to be the superhero in every play will do wonders for him. You've got a decent running game. The offensive line's good. You cracking wide receivers. I think it would be a good place for Wentz, and I think Wentz will be a good place for you.
I don't want Carson Wentz.
I know you don't, but you can see what I'm saying, right?
I'm telling you, I've evaluated those mid-range QBs, and I would like to take Steady Eddie Jimmy G, please. The guy that is not going to. Well, when you look at
that's what you want. What do you think you'll do? What do you think you'll do?
I think we'll probably make a play for Jimmy G. Although, well, I've been wrong about the Steelers off-season every year, basically, because I want them to do the opposite of what they end up doing. So they'll probably take Malik Willis in the draft and move up for him as well, or some craziness.
And you were wrong about who they drafted in the first round last year, where this guy was right. Took Najee Harris first round.
Yeah, obviously he's an extremely talented player.
So what you need to realize is that I know more about the Steelers than you. So listen to me, Jim. You're getting Carson Wentz, lad.
Look at Carson Wentz, okay? Let's just talk about Carson Wentz briefly, because the next one's
if you can calm him down, he is a really good QB.
He went back.
Calm him down and saying.
Yeah, he went back to his last good season with the Eagles. So 2020 was a mess. That was the kind of the breakup season for the Eagles. He got injured as well, so kind of discount that. But he went back to basically the exact same stats. I think it was 22 touchdowns to 7 interceptions that he did with the Eagles in 2019 and then with the Colts in 2021. I think the reason that doesn't really say that he's great is because in Indianapolis, he had no excuses. That O-line is one of the best in the league. He had Jonathan Taylor running out the backfield, which means that the defenses were scheming against Jonathan Taylor and not worrying about Carson Wentz scrambling and making throws down the field. And he still only managed 22 touchdowns and the 7 interceptions.
Okay.
Some interceptions.
Tell me about the wide receivers.
But hang on. But those interceptions were game-breaking interceptions. They weren't end of the half things. They weren't Hail Marys without much problem issue. These ones turned games.
Yeah. Tell me about the wide receivers he's got though. I mean, he's got T.Y. Hilton. Depending on who you talk about it. Okay, Michael Pittman, good shout. I like him. He's a wide receiver too. He has no wide receiver 1. Paris Campbell showed flashes in his first season and nothing since then. Zach Pascal is superb on special teams. That's it. And then Jack Doyle.
Jack Doyle's a fairly decent tight end.
Jack Doyle may be retiring because his body holds up for 3 plays in the second quarter.
But what are 3 plays?
So, I mean, what are 3 plays? He'll normally get a touchdown. It's a good fantasy pickup because, he'll always get 1 touchdown every now and again. So I just think that if you can remove the stupidness and, you don't need to play. Do you remember that
29 already.
Someone can. Do you remember that play when what was it? He sprained both of his ankles on one play when he got sacked by Aaron Donald.
Yeah.
And as he's going down, having both ankles sacked, he threw the ball away, which obviously didn't complete, by the way. Stop doing that. Take the hit. There's another down coming. If you can get someone who we can listen to and can really work on him and say, look, you don't need to make those plays. There's another down coming.
I would take him over Malik Willis or any draft QB, basically. No Matt Corral, no Kenny Pickett, no.
Glad you've said that because it backs up the fact that my suggestion that Carson Wentz will go to Pittsburgh is not a ridiculous one.
It's not ridiculous. It's not ridiculous. I don't know if the Colts will move off him. I know they've made some. Look, Jim Irsay will say a lot, but he doesn't understand. I'm guessing that he gave up a lot to take Carson Wentz. Let's talk about the Colts then quickly. They got 34 million drafts in draft capital. In cap space. They've got no first round pick this year because they gave it up to take Carson Wentz. They've got a 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 2 7ths. So they gave up a 6th round. So they gave up the 4th round, I think it was last year for Carson, and then it was a conditional 2nd, moved up to a 1st. So they're still paying off the Carson Wentz trade.
They are, But if they can trade him for a second or trade him for a high third, I mean, the Colts are not afraid with this new Colts management. They're not afraid to give up a first round pick for a guy who they think is the guy. Previous year before that, didn't have a first round pick because they gave it for DeForest Buckner, and he absolutely worked out as a success. I think they're perfectly happy to roll the dice. And you say yes, they've given up a first round pick. If you can trade that for a second or a high third, you're getting change. It's not too big a deal at that point, because as long as you then go in and pick someone, and again, GM's going to back themselves to be able to say, okay, give me a third, and I'll get a guy who will give us change. I just think with the offensive line that they've got, Anthony Costanzo is now gone, but they seem to have plugged the left tackle gap reasonably well. The run game's good. They need they need a wide receiver. They absolutely need a wide receiver. But Carson Wentz gives them currency to be able to trade. This goes back to what I mentioned earlier on. This opens up possibilities. They can go to let's pretend cap hits don't matter. They can go to Minnesota and say, give us Kirk Cousins, we'll give you Carson Wentz, we'll also give you a second. At that point, the Vikings might go, interesting. That's the type of, if they look and go, we really want Goff, we really want Jared Goff. If they go to the Lions and go, all right, we'll give you a second round pick and Wentz for Goff. Okay, done. And they've got a guy they believe in. Depends on who they believe. But having Wentz gives them currency. And I think that's a big, big thing.
Okay, so what do you think they do with this offseason? If they're not going to keep Wentz, are they going to draft? Or are they going to go free agent?
I don't think they'll draft. I don't think they'll draft. I think that they will possibly move. In all honesty, I think there's a good chance that they trade Wentz to the Steelers and they go and get Deshaun Watson. That's what I think happens. I think they trade a piece elsewhere. And I think Deshaun Watson moves in division. And the reason I say that, they absolutely can, because
they won't.
Then they won't have a choice. Okay, then Deshaun Watson will sit there because he chooses where he goes because of his trade clause. He chooses where he goes. And the pieces that they'll move, there'll be three or four people in a second round or something like that. I think if he's going to move in division, it will be there. I think that there's a good chance that's where he'll go. Either that or they'll move for, I don't know, they'll move for someone. They'll move for someone like Goff or something like that.
You can't get rid of your starting quarterback and then bring in a guy that might be on the exempt list for God knows how long.
Maybe.
Because then you're left with nothing. They're going to have to draft. If they get rid of Carson Wentz, they're going to have to draft a QB. And that means, how are they going to do that? Because in the second round, they haven't got a first round pick.
Depends what they get for Goff. Depends what they get for Wentz.
Well, they need at least a first round pick.
Well, that wouldn't be a first round pick from Pittsburgh.
Well, no,
because there's no way you guys are giving up 20. Well, maybe 20th. Nah, that's ridiculous. I think there's a good chance that if Wentz does go to the Steelers, the Colts will make a play for someone else. Whether it be Watson, I don't know. But I think there's a good chance that with Watson choosing where he can go, forget about in division. It makes no difference because ultimately it's up to Deshaun Watson.
He's still under contract though for another 3 years.
Yep, and they're paying him 40-something million each year. They want to get him out.
Mm-hmm. Well, they also seem to want to hold on to him.
Well, they've got new management now as well, so they're going to be in a very different position.
I'm not sure about that one, but I think they'll probably draft. I think the Colts. I thought they were going to keep hold of Wentz and still draft like a replacement, just to sit there in the wings.
If then, let's say Deshaun Watson doesn't happen. So if I exempt myself from that, then what I would do is I'd say, okay, Wentz goes to the Steelers, and Garoppolo goes to Indianapolis.
Jimmy G goes to Indy. Okay, all right.
That's what I'd reckon.
Well, I don't want that timeline.
That'd be the worst case scenario for you, wouldn't it?
Kind of. Let's move on to the Panthers then. They haven't got a lot of cap space, only about $7 million. They've got a first round pick. So I think they're picking. Where are they picking? Sixth overall.
I think it's 6. Yeah.
They're picking 6th overall, and then they've got nothing until round 5. So everyone's talking about them picking up maybe Kenny Pickett, as the first QB off the board, but you're going to have to be sure about that QB you're drafting if you're not going to sit there for another couple of days before taking any more people in the draft, and you haven't got the draft capital to really go out and attack the trade market for one of these QBs we've just been referencing. Carolina are in a really difficult place. You know, they gave up a 6th-round pick for Darnold, and then the 2nd and 4th-round pick this year, which helps exacerbate part of the problem. They've already exercised his 5th-year option, so that's worth 18 mil guaranteed.
Yeah,
I think they're going to have to stick with Sam Darnold, whether they like it or not.
Agree.
They are not in any position to make a move for any QB unless you're talking about an Andy Dalton or a Marcus Mariota or someone that's just in the free agency market that you can bring in as a backup to maybe compete with Sam if he has that drop in form, or gets injured. They're in a really bad spot, which is why I think everyone's predicting they're going to draft a QB with their 6th overall pick, and then hope and then just cross every finger and toe that it works out.
I agree, except for the drafting a quarterback. I think they ride out the 5th-year option and then let him walk next year. And cap-wise, they'll be in a much better position, and draft-wise, they'll be in a much better position.
I think they should draft O-line with that 6th overall pick. Just by the way, I wouldn't take a QB with that pick. I would pick an offensive tackle, give Sam Darnold a bit more time in the pocket. It wasn't a great year for Sam because that O-line was still terrible. It was very similar to what it was in New York for him. The running game wasn't there because Christian McCaffrey got injured early on again. Fits and spurts. DJ Moore is a great wide receiver, but he's like the only target for him as well. And the defense that looked so good in the first 3 weeks just seemed to not shut down as much as they could have done as the season progressed. So everything kind of fell apart for the Panthers. It wasn't just Sam Darnold's fault. He definitely didn't play great. I think it was 9 touchdowns to 13 interceptions. So whenever you're in the underwater on that, then there's not much you can do to defend the guy. But
sometimes though, it's not what you do; it's the way that you do it.
Yeah,
and it seemed as though it was complete meltdowns at time. So it wasn't just. I mean, you look at Drew Lock, and this is one of the reasons there's so many Drew Lock lovers, because he'll look great, and then he'll have bonehead plays for 3 minutes where everything he does for 3 minutes just falls apart. And Darnold will do that, but he'll do that for like a quarter, an entire quarter. He's just like, what are you doing? And then he'll come back in the 4th quarter and look brilliant, and you'll go, there's something there. And there is something there. I'm a fan of his. If you can get someone to actually work with him and work on his game and work on going through progressions and really coach him, yeah, you can make something out of it. There's clay there to mold. But the problem is they're in a position that's going to make it very difficult to move off him. The fact they've already exercised his 5th-year option means that they know it as well. And I think you're absolutely right. I think 3 things happen, or one of 2 situations happen, which consist of 3 things. They keep and stick with Darnold, and then either go with a rookie in the draft or go and get an experienced head in free agency, whether it be Mariota. Mariota won't come in unless it's a guaranteed start somewhere. But whether it be
good luck with
Jacoby Brissett, Jacoby Brissett, or whether it be Cam Newton again, or someone to come in and actually say, bring this guy in, even if it's like Joe Flacco, just bring him in and actually coach the guy and work with him and become his mentor. I mean, Joe Flacco's not the guy for that, but you get what I'm saying. If you say to Andy Dalton, say, look, we're going to bring you in. You're not our starter. You're here to coach Sam Darnold because I want you to be part of my coaching staff. We will put you through and make you part of a coaching tree. What do you think? And if he says yes, fantastic. Bring him in and become our guy.
I think that's the right way to go. I think absolutely right. They should bring in someone to help him out rather than throw him under the bus.
You can't waste a 6th overall pick on Kenny Pickett.
No.
6th. That's insanity. Get Charles Cross instead.
Yes. Pick up someone they actually need. So the only thing that might scupper that is the way that the season finished for Carolina. I know we need to move on, but there was all of the kind of brownie points that Matt Rule had built up have been eaten by now. The Carolina fans are not happy.
No change.
No, they're not happy with the way the team performed because they saw in those first 3 weeks just how good they could be.
You know what the answer is? Move to St. Louis. That's the answer.
They do get JC Horn back again. He was injured in the first week of the season, so they missed out on that first round pick for the entire season, basically.
Anyone who doesn't know, JC Horn's a cornerback, but
yes,
looks very, very good. He was basically third cornerback off the board, or
he was the first off the board.
After PS2. PS2 was first, I think.
Or was he
second?
No, JC Horn went 8th,
PS,
and then you went
JC
9th,
Horn, then PS. Yeah. And that annoyed all of Cowboy Nation, but
until they picked up who they pick up instead, though, Micah Parsons, right? So it worked out yet again. Okay,
well,
so
it worked out for them until Micah Parsons signs a big deal and then goes nuts and gets arrested. But
yeah. Well, we got that.
This is behind the paywall, so I can say that.
We're just gonna look forward to that, man. So it was happening. Yeah. The Buccaneers. Oh, the Buccaneers. Minus 1.3 million currently in the adjusted cap. Sorry. What am I talking about? What is it? It's it's cap space. I was right.
Yeah, predicted
cap space.
Top 51 cap space at the moment.
That's right.
It's not 53, it's 51.
Yeah, they've got a normal draft.
Do you know why they do it 51?
They've got a 6th round pick.
Do you know why they do it 51 rather than 53? Because you have a long snapper and you have one undesignated on special teams. That's why they do it 51 rather than 53. If anyone wonders what we're talking about, when they do the initial cap estimate, you can have 100 players on your roster. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They look at the top 51 players only.
Mm-hmm. That's right. So adjusted, it's minus 1.3 million. They're picking 27th in the first round, thanks to their playoff run again. But Tom Brady has currently retired. And now this is
my phone. Yeah, they're retired.
But this is the bed that Tampa Bay made, right, Dave? 2 years ago, they made exactly what they were getting into with Tom Brady.
Yes.
They had a Super Bowl run. They got the luck. They got all the way through in 2020 and got their Super Bowl. 2021 had another go, hit some hard opposition and folded. And Brady's walked away. Now he could always come back again at 45 and play another season, but you're just kicking that can one more year down the road. And I'm guessing some more of the mercenaries that stuck around for one extra season won't be there come September.
Even if it's a complete tire fire and everyone leaves and they become rubbish, they've still won because they won a Super Bowl. Doesn't matter what happens, they've still won. End of. Doesn't matter. I think they'll either go with Kyle Trask. So anyone who doesn't know, last year they picked up Kyle Trask, who was a Gator out of Florida, obviously. And he was all SEC in his first season. Second season, bit dodgy. I'm not a fan. Jim's not a fan. They picked him up in the second round, I think 61, 62 overall, something like that. I think there's a good chance, I don't know, it'll be 64. Of course, it will be 64th overall, doing the maths. Yeah. So they picked him up 64th overall. I'm not a massive fan. We didn't really see anything of him last season whatsoever. He got picked up a bit of an injury at one point as well. So I think they had to bring in Blaine Gabbert or someone else like Blaine Gabbert. I don't remember who. I think they go with him.
You think they're going to start the slowest man? He's slower than Tom Brady.
Slower than me.
He's half his age.
His 40 time in the combine was measured in wind erosion.
They watched the stone.
No, he
looked at a stone in their palm.
But yeah, but they've got an offensive line that can manage that. So it depends on the pieces they keep. Is he the long-term answer? No, but it doesn't matter because they won a Super Bowl.
He got drafted because of Carl Pitts, basically. Carl Pitts made him.
No, he got drafted because they went.
Was it Kadarius Toney as well? Was a Gator.
He was. He's proven to be top class
when he plays.
Not a touchdown last season at all.
Oh, he got like 3 didn't he, in one game, and then got injured.
Didn't get any.
Oh, he was close. He had one good game.
He was close.
What are the Bucs going to do? I've got no idea. Apart from begging Tom Brady to come back for one more year, and worry about it next year.
They stick with Kyle Trask, or they pick up someone like Marcus Mariota, someone who in free agency is going to come across. Give someone another go. There's going to be a casualty of all of these teams moving. I think there will be a casualty somewhere along the line. Let's say that Wentz goes somewhere and then Garoppolo goes somewhere and blah, blah, blah. There's going to be some change out of that. There's going to be someone who is currently in a job who thinks that they're relatively safe, and all of a sudden, bang, you've got a guy who was in a team and now isn't. That's the player they jump on. They basically pick up the change, and they need to be movable. But if there's one thing that we know about the coaching staff in Tampa, is they'll be ready to, say we can work with this guy, we can work with that guy. It makes no difference. They'll believe that they can work with a guy. It's fine.
Whether you're injured or not.
If Andy Dalton goes there. Yeah, it doesn't matter if Andy Dalton goes there. That would make that would be fine as well.
Might ruin that coaching tree offer. He's been given, but yeah.
I just think they're the team that will be more than happy to move in different directions, because
they'll have to.
They've probably been planning for this for a good few years. This is something that isn't going to be a surprise to them. They knew this was coming along, so they're going to have different strategy under different circumstances. So I think it won't be a shock.
I think they knew it was going to happen, but I think they were just too busy getting drunk at the bar to realise what was going on. I don't think they got any plan. I think they weren't expecting Brady to go. And then after the season finished for them early, they suddenly realised, oh, actually, he's talking about retiring. Oh, he's retired. Oh, okay. Oh, crap.
Yeah.
Nothing left.
Let's give them some credit, because they have drafted a quarterback. So let's make the assumption that he's their guy.
Yeah, at least they bothered to draft a QB. So there we go. Even a terrible one. So 2 left. First of all, the Saints. Just minus 80 million at the moment. They did restructure Michael Thomas and Ryan Ramczyk to try and free up some more space. Michael Thomas is a bit of an enigma anyway.
All they've done with Ryan Ramczyk is kick the can down the road. He is the best right tackle in football for me. Yeah. I think he's sensational. But all they've done is basically say, we're going to guarantee you money in 2 years' time rather than this year. So even if he goes somewhere else, they're going to be paying him like he's a quarterback. And that's fine, but it's their MO. It's what they do. So they freed up cap space in the short term. I think they stick with Tyrod Taylor, with Jameis Winston. When Winston was there, he won them a couple of games.
Yes. He got injured. It was unfortunate. Was it Travis Simeon came in and won the game against Tampa?
Yeah, so Simeon came in.
And they've still got Taysom Hill.
A bit of Hill. They can't play Hill at quarterback. It'll cost them too much money. If he plays as a wide receiver, they have to pay him £4.80. If they play him at quarterback, it'll cost them $2 billion or something. It's ridiculous. Yeah. The contract was heavily incentivized for him not to be a quarterback, so they'll put him there for gadget plays and stuff like that. But they still need a starter. I think they'll stick with either they'll bring in someone like Mariota, or they'll be in a similar position to Tampa. But I think they'll stick with Jameis Winston.
Well, I think they're in a better situation than Tampa in terms of the QBs they've currently got in the building, because Jameis Winston is a former number 1 overall pick. He is a free agent, but I think they need to keep him. If they're offering him the starting job, then brilliant. I think they're more likely to draft a QB. I know they're, I can't remember where exactly they're picking, but they've got a chance to pick up a Matt Corral or someone like that. They're mid-round. So, yeah, I think they're more likely to pick up a rookie, because obviously they're cheap, and that's what the Saints need right now. Well, and they can sit them for at least a year while Jameis has hopefully another team-friendly deal for them.
Yeah.
It's going to be a bit easier, seeing as though Tampa might not be as competitive this year.
The division's not going to be.
No.
This is it. This is where if you get, if you're a quarterback, and you were saying you look at what's available, I think you potentially look and say, okay, that's the division I can go and win and become a playoff quarterback and get me a good deal next year. Exactly. I think it'll be a 1 year, $15 million deal, all of it fully guaranteed. I think if they draft a quarterback, it won't be in the first round. They're picking 18th overall. I think they'll probably pick up a lineman. I think, that's where I go. I don't think there's any big moves for the Saints. I genuinely don't think that they have the option to go big. I think they stick with Jameis Winston, 1 year, $15 million.
Yeah, they've got 2 third-round picks, but other than that, it's about the money, Lebowski. They just don't have it.
Yeah, and it's when people say, "Oh, well, the cap's not real." It is, because for the Saints, it takes a long time. Well, it takes a long time, but they've kicked the can down the road so much so for so long. There is no can. There's nothing left to kick. to the point where the head coach
It's
has walked
flat.
out and gone, let me take a couple of years off. Let me
Yeah, I'm just going to
enhance
get
my
some
name.
cigarettes from the corner shop. I'll be back in a minute.
Everyone knows the only way to enhance your name in the NFL without being successful is not to be there.
Mm,
That's genuinely true. I mean, look at what happened in Dallas. Dallas went and got McCarthy after he was away for 2 years because, he was at Green Bay. They had some success there, disappeared off for a couple of years, and everyone went, oh, he's brilliant. He comes like, yeah, the Dallas job. I mean, people forget if you're absent, the heart grows fond.
mm.
And, it's going to be the same with Peyton. He's going to become this mystical figure in 2 years when the Saints are rubbish. Think, oh, he was really, really good. And then he'll come back and he'll get the Dallas
You
job.
won a Super Bowl like 10 years ago.
He was with Drew Brees.
Yeah. Nothing to do with Drew Brees. Last but not, well, alphabetically least, the Washington Commanders, Dave.
I don't know. I genuinely don't know. So they're
27
picking
mil,
11th overall.
27 mil in cap space. Looking good. They got a first, second, third, fourth, sixth, and seventh round pick, so they're missing a fifth. Tyler Heineke was the QB last season after Fitzpatrick got injured in week one, in the first quarter of week one, I think it was. He did okay. I think they don't have to panic, which is why I'm rolling my Magic the Gathering dice, or whatever you do with that. Probably poor analogy. And I would
rolling your dice, yeah.
Rolling my dice, whatever. I'm going for Deshaun Watson. If I'm the Commanders, I'm putting a stake in there. I mean, you're already hated by the league anyway because you're Daniel Snyder. Why not go for the guy that was legitimately an elite quarterback? Why don't you take a chance on him? He's 26 years old. He was at 33 touchdowns to 7 interceptions in 2020, his last full season.
He's passing leader, yeah.
Yeah, if you can get him over with some sort of guarantee that any suspension or exempt list will be less than a season, it's worth it. Because what you've got at the end of it is a guy that will be 27 and still have maybe 8 to 10 years of high production there to put your team forwards. You can get close or into the playoffs with Heineke. And it means you can still do some extra work in the draft and free agency to sort out some more things there. But Ron Rivera is a good head coach. I think he'd be pretty good with Deshaun. Deshaun wants a chance somewhere else. He wants to get out of Houston. He changes conference. He goes to a division a bit like the NFC South is turning into. We always call it the NFC least. There's always a chance for you to go from worst to first in the East. I would take a chance on Deshaun Watson. Whatever they want to offer, they've got some capital there that they can go to him and say, look, how about this?
I think that's not a bad shout, but I don't see it happening. I think that what are they called? Commodores. What are they called now? What are they this week?
Mm-hmm.
Are they Commodores? Yeah. So what really shot them down it's the Commanders. That was it. So I said
the Commandeers.
Sudden attack men. Commandeers. So what shot them down last season was injuries and easy turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
So many situations where they'd be winning a game and there'd be a fumble or something. And I think that will be seized on because let's not forget, it's not Ron Rivera who makes the trade. It's whoever the GM is. And they've made some weird moves in previous years. Trent Williams, for example, giving up, not giving up the farm, but a huge amount of money to get in Landon Collins and then who was the middle linebacker they let go the other way? It wasn't Blake Martinez, it was the other fella, I can't remember. And it was essentially a straight swap, which they paid huge amounts of money for. It's just, they do things weird. And I think someone's going to have looked and said, what we need is someone who's going to protect the ball, manage the game, be a steady Eddie. We want Jimmy Garoppolo. Oh, we can't because he's gone to Minnesota. Let's get Teddy Bridgewater.
No, you want the elite ticket. You want Deshaun Watson. No. You want to sell some of those New jerseys.
They're going to say, we want Jimmy Garoppolo. Garoppolo is going to go somewhere else and they're going to go, shit, okay, get Bridgewater. That's what's going to happen. They're going to get Teddy 2 yards. Teddy 2 yards will be in Washington. So if anyone who doesn't know, Teddy 2 yards signed for the Saints, then went to the Panthers. Panthers gave him a big contract, and then realized it wasn't their guy. Sounds familiar. So he then got packed off to the Broncos, and he was on 18, 19 million, something like that. But only 3 million of that was being paid by the Broncos. The rest of it was being paid by Carolina. So Carolina, so Bridgewater is now a complete free agent. He's an unrestricted free agent, can go and talk to whoever he wants to. There are no restrictions on him whatsoever. That becomes an attractive proposition. Bridgewater will sign first. Well, won't sign first. He will sign very quickly. And I think a team will convince themselves that he is the guy who can protect the ball and let other people make plays. You can say we've got a decent run game. Gibson's good. Give the ball to McLaurin and let McLaurin just make things happen. I think they'll fool themselves into thinking that is a possibility when it's not.
Mm. Well, I hope it's my way.
I agree with you. It should. It would really, really irritate Cowboys fans. So I'm totally down with that. I'd like to think that they could make a play for Watson. I just don't necessarily think that they're going to be in the market for him. I don't think anyone of Watson's ability will think that he can go and win with Washington, because I don't think he can.
If he can do it with Houston, they can do it with Washington.
Arguably Houston had more pieces when he was playing.
Did they?
They had D Hop. They had JJ Watt.
Terry McLaurin.
They had Jadeveon Clowney.
Chase Young.
Okay, now name all right. Kareem Jackson.
Bless you.
You see my point, right?
No, I'm just saying. Just saying, it's not a terrible situation for Deshaun to find himself.
No. It's not, but it's not the best situation. I think again, QBs are someone who'll back themselves to go into the best situation and want to win now. And I think with all the stuff that we've heard,
but he's 26 years old. He's got plenty of time.
With all the stuff that we've heard, I think he looks after one person. That's himself. And I'm not talking about the allegations. I'm talking about the stuff that he's done in season, in the fact that he's continued to go into the building to ensure that he doesn't get fined, and doesn't have interaction. There were other players who were saying hello to him in corridors and stuff, and he was walking past them without talking to them. Basically, I no longer play for them, so don't talk to me. That's not the guy I want to be my quarterback. He's supremely talented, but there are significant question marks.
Well, like I said, it's a long shot, but he is that X factor quarterback out there that some teams probably going to take a shot on. I mean, they keep talking about the Dolphins. I don't see that happening because they've just doubled down on Tua with their coaching hires. So, and because Chris Greer won that battle between him and Flores. So I don't see that happening, although they've got the draft capital to do it. That's why they talk about the Dolphins so much. And there was a previous offer, I think, last season from Stephen Ross. But no, I think that out of all the teams that could potentially get away with one more season of just not having a franchise quarterback, maybe the Commanders would do it. As long as they can, well, I suppose what will also put them off is they've gone through all this kind of rebranding to try and clean their image up, despite having Snyder in the background, to then bring in a guy that may face criminal charges. I don't know what's happening with that at the moment. It's close to an ending, but we don't know what's happening with the exempt list or how the fans would react to that. Is that the image they want?
So it was rumored that there was going to be some form of resolution in mid to late February. Now, obviously, that's where we are now. Nothing's been said yet, and depending on what you believe, the American justice system is slowing down because of COVID. The Henry Ruggs issue was meant to be resolved halfway through December, and that's still going on now as well. So things are taking longer to happen than usual. However, as it's only a civil case, if Watson wanted to settle, he could. Nothing criminal has been brought yet, so it's very important to differentiate between the two. You have a civil case and a criminal case. Criminal case, you go to court and it's on. You have to get beyond reasonable doubt. Everyone knows that if there is any reasonable doubt, you're then innocent. In a civil case, it's not. In a civil case, it's for libel or for I can't think of the other term for it. It's basically it's beyond. It's not beyond reasonable doubt. It's on the balance of. So what you do is you have to be 51% sure
Yeah.
to be found guilty. That's it. 51%. So if on the balance of probability, Jim's ugly, you look at him and go, yeah, okay, he probably is. At that point, it's then classified as Jim is ugly. I definitely am. So I'm like 70, 80%. So I know that's fine. And I'm
Thanks,
comfortable
Dave.
with that. It's all right. So on that point, that will be the classification. It's on the balance of probability. So if Washington came and said, we want you to come to us, we want you to be our starting quarterback, we'll give you everything that we want, but the criminal proceedings have to go away. At that point, there's a settlement.
Yeah. Well, civil court is more likely a fine, isn't it? Criminal court is more likely jail.
Well,
right?
a criminal civil court, you will pay compensation. That's the whole point of civil court. You will pay compensation. It's fines which go to the restitute of the plaintiff. Whereas criminal court, you can get fines and compensation, but that's determined by the judge. But there are no criminal proceedings that have been brought up. The only thing that's worth noting, there are 3 complainants who have issued statements to the police, but no criminal proceedings have been brought yet. The reason those 3 are significant is those 3 ladies have not brought a civil case. So they have not brought a civil case at all, and the police, and they've made formal complaints, but the police have not yet arrested him yet. That's why it's significant, because if all of a sudden that's basically pending police action, which is why there's a lot of people that are unsure. And it's as much as what's not happening as what is happening that's making people, I think, a bit sketchy on it. But if Washington said, look, bring it to a head, we'll pay the damn fine, doesn't matter, we'll pay it, we'll do some kind of transfer, we'll do transfer of ownership or something like that, we'll give you a 1% stake in the business that exists for 5 years and then it becomes transferable, something like that, and we'll give you money and you then transfer ownership back to us, blah, blah. They'll be able to do that. It's not a problem.
Yeah.
You can make it go away.
The NFL can make anything go away if they want to.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. Like I said, that was my long shot. Deshaun should make a move somewhere, and I think the Commanders may be the place to do that. Or the Steelers, where we've had a convicted criminal play quarterback for us before. Don't you dare say Ben Roethlisberger. Don't you dare say it.
That. I did not say that. He wasn't convicted. He paid him. He paid the money to shut up. It's true.
Innocent.
It's true. He was not found innocent.
But he was.
He was not found innocent. He was not.
Was he found guilty?
The money.
Was he found guilty?
That does not mean you were found. O.J. Simpson.
Not guilty.
Was he innocent?
All right, he was not guilty.
You did not go to court. He paid the money.
Was not
Get
guilty.
Out of it.
Look, I was talking about Mike Vick. Mike Vick went to jail, and we still put him onto our roster. I mean, he was washed by that point, but we still did it. So it's not as if we will never take on someone like that.
That's the disgusting kind of organization that you are. That's why.
Second chances, man. What's wrong with that?
Yeah, the only other thing, I want to bring up one other organization. That's the Giants.
So the
Giants. No. Well, no, the only reason I'm bringing it up.
We know what they're doing.
So the Giants are. Well, I might surprise you a little bit. So the Giants are sticking with Daniel Jones.
This is the least.
However,
I said last but not least. This is least.
I reckon that Brian Daboll will bring over Mitch Trubisky to New York as well. Because Trubisky is also a free agent.
Mm-hmm.
I think he'll sign for New York. And I'm going to make a bold prediction now. Week 10, Trubisky starts.
How about week 4 when Daniel Jones is injured yet again?
Week 10, he might start in week 4, but he might start in week 4, but then that means he'll start
by week
5,
10.
6,
You're
7,
saying
8, 9,
it's over.
10. During week 10, Mitch Trubisky will be playing for the Giants one way or another. He might have played. He might be in his 10th game already, but by week 10 he will play. Bear in mind that's a long shot of a team he doesn't even play for yet.
By the 5th snap of the 3rd quarter in week 10.
No, it'll be the 5th snap of the 3rd quarter in week 3.
Yeah,
of the preseason.
Yeah. Oh my god, you got a lot of faith in Mitch Trubisky to become the starter in any franchise.
Okay, let me ask you a genuine question. Okay. Pittsburgh pick up a quarterback and you get the option of Mitchell Trubisky or Daniel Jones. Think about it before you make the answer. And it's a 1-season rental. Who are you going for? Seriously, genuine question. It's hard, isn't it?
Oh God, Daniel Jones
Yeah,
maybe.
you're going to, the fact that you said maybe at the end of it says everything.
We
I
can run
think
a bit.
that's I think that's why they bring in Trubisky, because he's going to be cheap.
It's the
He's got to
same.
prove himself.
Can't throw
Similar,
left. Yeah.
similar.
Hmm.
But let's hope that he hasn't got a head coach who's going to try and kill him this time either.
Well, we all hope
But
that.
not only am I going to predict what team he's going to, I'm also going to predict when he starts, and I think it will be week 10 for the Giants.
Fair enough.
Other than that, I think most of the teams stick with who they've got. I don't see Derek Carr moving anywhere. He's in a contract year. I don't see him moving anywhere. I think Baltimore, despite some of the rumblings that have gone on about Lamar and the injuries and the fact that he's going to have to slow down and actually become a quarterback, they'll give him the opportunity to do that.
They'll have to.
Matty Ice will stay with the Falcons, because if they get rid of him, they have to pay. I mean, their dead cap's like 40-something million, so I think he'll stay there.
He has a cap hit in 2022 of 48 million, which is the most in NFL history.
What's the dead cap on that though? It's ridiculous. The dead cap is like 40-something million. If they get rid of him, they're only going to save like 8 million.
Yeah.
Well,
it's
you're
not
not
even
going to get a
worth it now.
replacement for that. Just forget it. Yeah.
Not in this year's draft.
Completely. Nope.
Yeah.
And then the only other person, but I don't think this is even a conversation worth having, is what Cleveland do with Baker Mayfield. They've guaranteed him his 5th-year option. I think this is his prove it year.
Again, yeah.
Again, yeah. This is his 5th prove it year in a row.
It's a bit of a shame, but you know, there we go.
Really.
Well, not for me, but you know, I'm talking about for Baker.
Yeah. And then the only other team potentially is the Patriots, but the Patriots, I think, stick with Mac
They're
Jones
okay
as their
now.
quarterback.
They're okay. There's other ones like the Eagles and that, but no. I think those are the ones we've been through that are more likely to have some sort of change, or you know, have the potential to change
Detroit
up
will
at
stick with
quarterback.
Goff. Yeah.
Anyway, guys, hopefully you enjoyed that. This was myself, Jim, and Denver Dave. Next week we'll be back on the normal
if you want
pod,
to have
I think.
a pop, if you want to have a pop at any of us about what we've gone through,
Oh,
then
absolutely.
by all means do.
Please tell us where we went wrong there with our predictions, or at least our hopes for the future.
We should have a
on Twitter
revisit on there.
at Final Down NFL at Denver Dave 30.
Let me ask you one very quick question before you go. Out of all the ones that you've picked today, which is the one that you're most confident on? Which is the one pick where you've gone, I think which one pick will definitely happen? What's the big favorite that you think will absolutely happen?
Panthers keeping Darnold and drafting a.
Panthers keeping Darnold is the one.
Yeah.
All right, in terms of transaction, what's the one transaction of a new guy coming in that you think absolutely will happen?
Jimmy G to the Steelers, please. I only think that if Aaron Rodgers is going to go anywhere else, it's going to be Denver. I'd like to see it. I want to see him play somewhere else. I don't want him to retire, and I don't want him to be in Green Bay next year.
It will be.
As long as it's not in the NFC North, then I'm happy.
I'm a massive fan of that as well. I hope we get Rodgers. I really do hope we get him. I just don't necessarily see it. That's the problem. I just don't. I
think you've got the cap space and you've got the capital. So
the transfer that I expect to happen is Teddy 2 yards
to Washington.
He'll go to Washington.
Okay.
Which is not inspiring.
No, but there you go. That's all you're going to get. Sometimes the truth hurts, doesn't it? You know, it's not as
I thought long and hard about that
because
I thought whoever's going to go for Teddy 2 yards is going to be paying him 18 million next year. A lot of it voidable. But yeah, I think he'll end up there or he'll end up at the Texans. I think it'll be one of those two.
Well, I think they're okay with Mills for at least a year. Give him another chance.
He'll be a good backup, though. He'll be a good backup.
Anyway, so there you go. Thanks very much for sticking with us, guys, and we'll speak to you very soon. Bye.